Hi guys, it's Nat with Sun to Shine Astrology and Tarot, and we're back with another kind of epic astrological event we need to talk about. We've had a lot of those lately. So, the astrological event we're going to be talking about is the lunar eclipse that is going to be happening on November 30th, and that is going to be in Gemini. So, let me tell you how a lunar eclipse works in case you don't know. It's essentially a full moon. And so it is the sun opposing the moon. Now, ecliptic events are very significant in the astrological world. Now, this energy is a little bit harder to yield and to redirect because fate is at play. Destiny is at play in energy like this. You were always going to have this event designate a direction for you. And in this particular event, in a lunar eclipse, it's eclipsing out something because that's what full moons do. Full moons are endings, culminations, conclusions to a journey, to a chapter, to a emotional experience. Usually because it's affiliated with the moon, it has something to do with your emotions, your emotional reactions, the way that you process your emotions, absorb emotions, and the way that you deal with emotional situations. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. There's going to be a solar eclipse. It's going to be happening on December 14th, and that's eclipsing in. But for now, we are talking about what is being eclipsed out to make room for this fated present that we're supposed to get in December. So the energies that are opposing each other is the sun in Sagittarius and the moon in Gemini. So there's a neat dynamic about these two energies opposing each other. So one is the elevated mind, the sun in Sagittarius, and that is where we go to seek answers, to expand our boundaries, to consider different perspectives, even if it's from different cultures. We're very fascinated by facts and diving deep and learning more and consuming more. You're really interested in finding answers from somebody who knows a lot in a particular field. This isn't something where you're satisfied with kind of like a quick Google search. No, this is something where you pick up a book and it expands your mind and blows your mind, and you're like, I didn't even know that particular aspect of life even existed. It reminds me of when I was learning about Buddhism. I was fascinated to read about the fact that so many things that was in the Buddhist belief system also corresponded with Christian belief systems. And when I brought it up to friends to talk about this, and this is very Sun and Sagittarian, right? Because you're putting the pieces together, you're working that elevated mind, and you're wanting to have a really stimulating conversation about something that you explored and found out. And I was met with heavy resistance because Buddhism was bad and the Christian belief system was good. And I just couldn't understand that because my mind had been opened up to something different. That is a Sagittarian experience. They're very different. They're very excited about everything. They're very kind of outer limits. I noticed that a lot of people who are in music or people who are stars that are Sagittariuses tend to overdo it on how they externalize their artistic expression. Like they'll just be really crazy in their makeup, or their hair is just really big, or they really need a lot of attention and they are constantly socializing. They're just very fun to be around, and they tend to overdo it a teeny bit, just a teeny bit. Then we have Gemini energy, the moon. So Gemini energy is everything that's in our day-to-day realm. It is what we react to. It is our reactions to stimuli, pretty much. And it's social media. This is more the things that catch our eye, more the things that we are exposed to in that given moment. It's not the answers that we seek on the internet, because that would be Aquarius. So Gemini energy it flips back and forth. It's very inconsistent, right? Because so much stimuli is always around you. It can be difficult for Geminis to keep their attention onto one thing. So where I find the sun in Sagittarius, or Sagittarius energy, focuses us on ourselves, on our soul, on our center, because that's the sun. I feel like with the Gemini energy, you're just in the moment, in whatever mood you are in, however you are emotionally impacted. If you're high, you're happy. If your emotions are low, or you are sad about something, then you're really low. It's just kind of a very bipolar kind of feeling. And it's very mutable, and it's very fluid. Whereas I find Sagittarius energy is a hair more determined and focused, because they really are striving for that ultimate goal or that big trip or something. So these two energies are opposing each other. So you can imagine, with the dualistic nature of the sun and the moon, that you have a lot that you are trying to figure out. So it's almost like some stimuli happens in your immediate environment, and it may lead you on a journey, because you identify with something that's going on, because that's the sun. It may lead you on a journey to try to dive deeper and to figure things out. So I have created two separate graphics that I'm going to put up here to display the positive energy that can be found in this lunar eclipse, and the negative or challenging energy that can be found when you go through a lunar eclipse, especially in Gemini, because it is dualistic. And so I think it's important to have a visual display of the energy that is at play. So just if you're a person who likes everything to go a certain way, and you're very rigid in your thinking, and you're very focused and you're steady as a drum, right? This energy is going to make you crazy, because it's not steady. It's lots of facts, lots of things thrown at you, most of it inconsistent, some of it true, some of it not true, some of it motivated by other people's insecurities, fears, some of it may be motivated by a fact or something they heard, and so they're relaying that information out there. It doesn't necessarily make it a fact. It's more like something they were stimulated to talk about, but they may not have researched it further, or dove into how truthful that fact was. It could have been from a trusted source, and that's good enough. One of the things I find about Gemini energy is they tend to, if they like a person and they hear something, that becomes a fact to them sometimes. They don't explore that fact deeper, because it's like, well, I heard it, so it must be true. Whereas with Sagittarian energy, they're diving into it as if it's a quest. It's an adventure to figure it out. It's a mystery. It's an endeavor. It could be, for them, the planning the trip and the gathering of all of the stuff that you need for the trip. and the constant research about where you're going to go and how much fun it's going to be, and talking about how much fun it's going to be is actually part of the process before you even get to explore that destination. You're exploring it mentally and then going out and physically exploring it. Gemini energy is so different than that. They experience it on the fly. It's very quick. It's very reactive. And that's why sometimes they can seem a bit flaky and inconsistent and hot and cold, and they'll tell you one thing and then 5 minutes later it can be something totally different, and because something stimulated them to go into a different direction. For you, if you're not a Gemini, this can be kind of crazy making energy, because it seems like they're just all over the place, when in fact they're just overly stimulated. What is eclipsed out during a lunar eclipse in Gemini is lies, deception, inconsistencies in stories, inconsistencies in the facts. The thing is, every lie, misconception, misunderstanding, manipulation is based on some sort of truth, on some fact. It's kind of like when you tell a story and that person that you told that story to goes and tells that same story to somebody else. And then by the time the story comes back to you, it's not even what happened. There's some semblance of what happened. They take a fact, or they take some bullet points that they pulled from that story, and then they embellish it and make it more interesting, from their own perspective or how they perceived it. So in this particular instance, we're getting down to what the facts actually are. But before we can do that, what needs to be eclipsed out is the sheer inconsistency of it all. All the different sources and all the different stimuli, not allowing you to focus on what the actual issue really is. So somewhere between 28 days and 6 months from now, because 28 days is the lunar cycle, and then 6 months is usually about how long it takes for ecliptic energy to kind of work its way out and for us to be able to decipher what it was all about, you're going to receive some clarity. You're going to be able to understand what this time period fully meant, all the facts, all the fiction. You'll decipher the truth out of all the lies and the manipulation, and you'll finally be able to make the decision on which direction to pursue. So as I said before, there are two distinct energies that we will be dealing with. Of course, it's the difference between the elevated mind and that lower mind. Elevated mind being Sagittarian energy, and the lower mind being Gemini energy, and the lower mind meaning the things that we deal with daily. But we also have another component to the duality. We have the challenging energy and the positive energy. So, positive energy, let's talk a little bit about that. This lunar eclipse is going to be sextiling Chiron, which is in Aries. And so for some of you that have been trying to find the answers to issues that you are having regarding some of the struggles that you deal with that block your energy from receiving the type of answers that it needs, you are going to get a blessing in this energy. So remember, I said that we are eclipsing out some obstacles so that we can receive positive energy. And in this case, it would be places where we need to heal, places where we need to restore and recharge our energy, and places where we have deeply been bruised in our ego. Because Mercury is in Scorpio, which is the ruler of Gemini energy, it is in a sextile with Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto in Capricorn. So for some of you that are pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, and you're not allowing your fears to consume your thoughts anymore or overpower your life. You want to tackle them, and you want to live an empowered life, and you're aware of your fears, but they don't control you anymore. This is truly deeply magical energy, because Mercury, which is in Scorpio, is in a trine with Chiron and Aries, and a trine with Neptune and Pisces. So this is getting creative, of course. This is idealizing your outcome. This is concentrating on hopeful mindsets instead of fears and negativity. And this is truly deeply believing. I think the most important word is believing in the magic of existence and life and creation, and the fact that you are a co-creator of your life. And even though you are subjected to constant trials and tribulations, you overcome them by sheer hope. Hope for something better, hope that you can create a different outcome, and belief that there is something more than your current circumstances. You are adaptable in this energy. You are open. You're ready to communicate on any level about what you're going through. If this means diving really deep with some of your closest relationships, bonds, partnerships, or unions, or with some sort of counsel, or diving into a journal and getting really deep with your bad self, then this is great energy to feel like you start to get a support system, or you create positive habits and rituals that start to give you hope. This is the ability to move on. You know, you cannot change the past. There was some wisdom to be attained and some lessons learned, and you now know that. I mean, it's just that simple. The challenging energy, which is always in an ecliptic event, especially a lunar eclipse, is it's highly emotionally charged, and it can create a lot of instability in your moods. One minute you're up, one minute you're down. You could be very reactive to stimuli, overly reactive. So one minute, you know, if you're hearing some good news, then you're kind of on a manic high. But then if you hear something that challenges you and makes you upset, then you're on that, you know, really manic low. But you're really mentally unstable and quite erratic in your behavior, and your thoughts rule your actions. You know, your mind rules your actions. And so, you know, if you don't have a lot of control over your mind, and your mind is a notorious place where you get lost in, and you can't quiet it, or you can't control it, or you can't look at it for what it is, as, you know, basically a way that we process our environment, and that we receive information. But information is good and bad, and there's a lot of confusion, especially in energy like this. There's, as I said before, there's a lot of information that's inaccurate, and there's a lot of people trying to manipulate facts and information to support their agendas, because they're fear-based, and they're living in a state of panic because they're losing control over people or things or something that they deeply identify with. You could be quite moody, so irritable, very anxious. You can be absolutely rigid and stubborn and fear-based. I can't emphasize enough that when people get triggered, which this energy can be very triggering, because you have to understand you're hitting the emotional realm. And sometimes, especially in Gemini energy, we tend to be somewhat superficial with where our thoughts go. And then we just all of a sudden get kicked down into the subconscious. We get triggered and we're not aware of what is causing it because it's some external information or stimuli that's triggering something internally inside of us that we're unaware of and detached from at that moment, you tend to spiral. This is also where you have a belief system, or you think you know something, and then all of a sudden the information or the facts just don't support your argument, or you're trying to relay that information in a conversation and people are contradicting you, and it's frustrating and it makes you debatable and haughty and very overpowering, and you tend to put people down because you think you know more in this energy. You're not receptive. You are very one-sided in your thinking because you are working out of an emotional state. And so anything that you're feeling is coming out, you're projecting it onto others. That can happen in energy like this. Venus in Scorpio is in a quincunx with the lunar eclipse. So that's why I say fear is very present in this energy. And I think it's a fear of, most of all, our feelings getting hurt. Our relationships, partnerships, bonds, and unions may be compromised. Maybe they're telling us something that we don't want to hear. Maybe they're having a conversation with us. Maybe they're trying to give us information that we don't want to hear. Maybe about ourselves. Maybe about something that they lied about and now they're coming clean. Or maybe you found out something and confronted them, and now you're informing them that but it's something unpleasant for people who have the challenging aspect to this energy. Also, Earth-based energy is in a tough energy. Saturn in Capricorn is squaring off with Uranus and Taurus, so, which is in retrograde. So this is a lot of stuff that we've been too stubborn or too rigid to become enlightened in. And we just want it to stay the same. And we don't want it to change. And we don't want to get wise. We don't want to learn a lesson in it. We don't want anything. We just want it to stay the same. And so we get stubborn and rigid, and we hold on and to that mentality. It's going to be a tough time. It's going to be a tough time for those people, because whomever that you're up against, and if they do not agree with your sense of reality or your perception of reality, then it is going to be a reality check, because they're going to be in your face. They're going to make you face the facts, because there's a quincunx between Uranus and Taurus and the Sun in Sagittarius. So this, even the most controlled person, even the person who's usually quiet, subdued, complacent, if pushed in this energy, will become quite unpredictable. The whole situation may turn into something that you didn't quite anticipate ever happening, because you've always pushed that person before and they've never reacted. They might just surprise you. Lunar eclipses are about the way that we're perceiving something in our environment, the way that we are reacting to some sort of stimuli. It's about removing it, eclipsing it out. So for whatever that is, it must have been something that you may not have been fully aware of at the time, but now currently are. This season in our life has been just a season of reality checks. And I feel like some of us were in the dark about a lot of things. And some of us had created comfort zones around illusions. And some of us even not only lied to others, but lied to ourselves about our environment and the material realm that we live in. So now that we're fully aware, what do you do with all that information, right? Well, in a positive state, it expands you. It helps you see it from a new perspective. It pushes your boundaries. You awaken, you become aware, and that's all the energy that's coming in on December 14th. Anyhow, guys, this is a lot of information. I try not to overwhelm you, but these ecliptic events are very meaty because it's tough when it's dualistic because it's very flippy floppy. It's very inconsistent, and so you could be in the high vibe of it, and then you could hear something that may put you off, and it may cause a reaction in you, and you were doing fine, and now you're not. I mean, it happens to everybody. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I am still going to put out my weekly reading, but I thought I would do this astrology event in a separate video just because it's a lot to cover, and I hate putting really long videos before my pick a card readings because it makes for a long day. Well, just much love to all of you, and just go out there and be the change you guys want to see in the world, and I'll talk to you again real soon.